Welcome back to The Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media and woke politicians, by the way. Woke politicians. We'll do that today. I'm Jake Duesenberg. Joining me is Mega Jesse. How you doing, Jesse?
I am doing great, Jake. Happy to be here.
And also, I love it that we got you guys both almost every episode going forward. I love it because it wasn't like this, but I got straight-laced himself, William, who wears a collared shirt under a sweater. Look how fine he's looking.
I was going
today.
for the sophisticated look today for the show.
Yeah, you were Arthur on that last show. That was like really dressed down.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like the impromptu drum thing you did there, too. That was nice.
Well, I love that intro Dawson put together. Speaking of Dawson, in our control room is Dawson running the dials, Bridget in front of him, and I could barely see you guys. I don't know why you keep turning down the lights in there.
I can let me brighten it really quick. I'll do that.
Okay, let's see it. By the way, Bridget's going to be reading your comments. We're on Facebook. Yeah, that's much better. Why would you have been so dark before?
Oh, yeah, you can actually see back there now.
You can see these guys. All right, Bridget's going to be reading your comments. She's also going to so that's on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. I want to say something real quick. First of all, follow us on Rumble. Down here, you see that? Get on Rumble. Get an account. They seem to be for free speech right now. And that's a lot to be said because woke politicians are for free speech. YouTube's not for free speech. Now, we still have a good amount of subscribers, and we have followers on YouTube. Listen, I'm at late at night. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm watching stuff. Crazy MAGA Jesse watches old ancient debates.
Yep,
you know what
of course.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into the subject, tell us what debate you were watching on, was it Sunday night?
Yep, I was watching the Chicago mayoral debate. Of course, who could resist watching Lori Lightfoot on stage with 8 other people that hate her? She's destroyed Chicago. She's a radical lesbian leftist, and it'll be a lot of fun to see her go down.
Well, the answer to your question is William, Bridget, Dawson, myself. That's who could resist watching the Chicago debates.
And everybody
That's 4
probably
people
watching.
right off the bat. Pretty much everyone watching. No one watches that stuff. But that's what's unique about The Truth Hurts is you're getting actual political junkies and experts coming to you live every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock. Also, I really want you to do something for me. Follow us on Twitter, the other free speech platform right now. So right down here, action_liberty. It's hard to find, apparently, but
I think we're shadow banned. I think we've been shadow banned by Elon himself.
I don't think so. I'm putting some faith that Twitter will see the light of day. Maybe we're just too small because we're new on it. But try to find us on Twitter. Definitely subscribe. Sign up for a free account on Rumble. To follow us, subscribe to us on Rumble. It's very important you do that. We're going to talk about a lot of other things as tech censorship is, getting worse these days. We'll talk about email platforms and other stuff. But that's for a different show, a different day. We have got to talk about this story. Walter Hudson, guy I've known for a decade, going back to the Ron Paul days, Tea Party days and stuff like that, now a representative, uncovered a really interesting thing in a committee hearing at the Capitol. This bill, HF 181, which, we're tracking the legislature, but it's like, that's 181 bills in, right?
Yep.
We put 4 hours on Thursday night just towards one bill, HF1, which is the abortion in all cases bill. So here's 180 bills later, we have this bill that basically is trying to create a database in the state of Minnesota to track things that are bias. And, of course, as you know, the bias that the Democrats care about is not the bias towards conservative viewpoints. They're not tracking that because if so, hey, Action for Liberty, we've had a crime committed against us.
We've got some complaints.
We've got some big complaints. Yes, I don't know, the President of the United States telling platforms like Facebook to remove accounts like ours, right? That literally happened. So, yes, we got to complain, but they don't care about that bias. Pull up our Action for Liberty article, and you can go to actionforliberty.com to follow this stuff. We just published this article. This is Commissioner Lucero, not to be confused, William, with Senator Lucero, Eric Lucero. I know it's confusing. They wear the same suit coat, but Lucero's actually conservative. She is a radical, crazy, leftist who probably doesn't like free speech. And I think that's just the problem is the modern Democrat Party. They don't care about free speech. So it's HF181. We do have a hyperlink there, but I'm going to pull out the very important stuff. Scroll down just a little bit more. This is the perceived. So it's not even that it's necessarily that you are of these categories. It's that you're perceived to be in these categories. That's all that matters these days. And so that includes race, color, ethnicity, religion, sex. Of course, those are the ones I always talk about. Gender, sexual orientation. And if gender wasn't enough, gender identity and gender expression, which I guess I don't know the difference there. Is this really literally the gender's fluid thing?
I mean, that's what it must mean. I don't know the difference between gender identity and gender expression and gender.
That's why you're a bigot.
I guess so. You know, I'm going to be the first one they report.
Educate yourself.
Yep, that's all right.
That's
I'm
what
good
they're
with
saying.
the information I got.
Then what they're going to do is they're going to take your tax money and they're going to develop this reporting system. Not just the Department of Human Rights in Minnesota, but they're also going to divvy out this money to nonprofits in Minnesota. Now, let me ask you this question, William. Is that money going to be tracked appropriately? Do you see any problem with the government handing out a bunch of money to track hate crimes or things that are associated or perceived as hate and bias?
I can think of maybe one or two issues that would go wrong with that. Maybe someone will buy a couple yachts with it. Who knows?
I mean, maybe somewhere around Cedar Riverside, there's a whole new nonprofit that springs up. That's their job is to track these incidents. And yes, a bunch of yachts are purchased, money flown back overseas. I mean, at some point, it's just ridiculous in Minnesota how many of your how much of your tax money is going to all this fraud.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how no one's talking about that story anymore?
Right.
Like it dropped like a month before the election, and they're like, "Oh, we got Walz and Keith Ellison are like, oh, we'll tackle this," and election's over. Nobody's talking about it, and now they're saying we need to give nonprofits more money to do our job.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now here's my question. I just outed Cedar Riverside, which I think we know what that reference is to. Did I just have a reporting incident according to this bill? Is that what
I think
going
so.
on? Let's bring up the Twitter account Walter Hudson, who did a pretty good job. Now Walter is a black man. All right, and so I guess he should be really curious about this new reporting system against bias and crime, which includes race. Of course, he's not woke, so in the liberals' eyes, he couldn't be whiter than anyone. I mean, right? You can't possibly be their preferred, identities unless you toe the line.
Right. The most racist people in the world are white liberals. The people who think so lowly of people of other races that they can't stand up for themselves, that they're all oppressed. You know, it's these white liberals that are the real racists in this world.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and play the audio here. This is Walter asking a question to the bill sponsor. And one thing you'll notice here is the average intelligence of these Democrat legislators is ridiculous. It's like, does he even get into the 3 digits? Actually,
I doubt it.
I mean, like it's pathetic. So they don't even know their own bills, and so she punts it to the commissioner. But let's listen to Walter Hudson question her.
Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Incidents that may not be criminal. That's what I heard. So we're going to create a mechanism for reporting incidents where no crime took place, where the defining characteristic, to the extent there's any definition at all, is that somebody feels as though they were discriminated against based upon actual or perceived, that's the language in the bill, characteristics. I'm deeply concerned about the implications of this bill. We're going to create a database of incidents that have no objective standard determining whether or not they violated the law, whether or not they had anything distinct from just normal speech. An incident of bias. So if someone were to post on social media a particular Bible verse that defined marriage or spoke of God's institution of marriage as being between one man and one woman, or a Bible verse that spoke in condemning terms regarding certain sexual proclivities, would that posting of a Bible verse be considered an incident reportable under your bill?
Representative Vang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just say that it is important to let our community know that we do not tolerate hate and bias incidents in this community and in Minnesota, and that we support communities that has been harassed, intimidated, and abused. Everyone is protected, no exceptions. And I can also defer to Commissioner Lucero to help shed light on the increased need to make sure that we are able to document and accurately know what's happening in our communities.
I mean, what? Like, not even answering the question, right? And it's so funny. She's reading the script. It's like they don't even know what the hell their bills are. That's the thing. They're just pushing these bills for, I guess, the Department of Human Rights, or dare I say, some nefarious characters behind the scenes.
I won't speculate on that, but
Well, you're looking at me like you got something to say there, William.
I
That was an awkward pause. He's like looking at me like, hey, I'm ready to opine on this. And then he just is like,
Well, there is something interesting that I think the commission will talk about in a minute here, but it's not a crime, supposedly. Is it a thought crime? Is that what we're going for here? Like, I don't understand why we're tracking these things. Is it so that we can have federal agents watching these people to see if they commit some sort of hate crime? Like, it's very dystopian.
Yeah, and it's that slippery slope. It's like, well, it's only for crimes, but it's really not when you read the bill. It's like things that could be crimes, right? So if it's not a crime.
Perceived crimes.
Yeah, perceived crimes. And Walter actually posed that question, and that'll be answered in a second. The thing I think about here, Walter's going, Walter, you got to get up to speed with the ages here. The shall they bake the cake thing was so 2016, right? That's not the case anymore. I don't even think it's going to be on sexual orientation. At this point, it's more like the Jordan Peterson, what actually brought him onto the national stage, is he won't recognize people's gender identity.
Right. Yep,
Or actually, in that case, it wasn't even that. It was about he's compelled to do it. If they say you're compelled by the state, he might have actually said it, but it's just the government can't compel. Well, that's where I see this thing going. It really comes down to this craziness, gender identity.
Yep.
Right?
No, exactly. I mean, like I was saying in the last episode, we're bending over backwards for the transgenders and these gender identity people and everything else that's going on. It doesn't make any sense, and we can't be forced to change our language, to change the words that we use. We can't be forced by the government to, identify things by people by things that we don't believe are fact. We shouldn't be forced by the government or by anybody to say something we don't believe in.
Well, and conservatives need to dig their heels into the sand now. If we don't hold our ground now, we're going to keep ceding a little bit of ground. And that's why we are where we are today. We keep ceding ground on these important social issues. And everyone says, well, maybe it'll help us win this next election. Or maybe it'll help us. You've heard that one before.
Well,
with
it's
other
a joke
topics
because
as well.
they lose these elections. They do nothing. It's terrible.
Exactly, and that's what they thought with abortion too.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, voters don't want someone who conforms to the Democratic Party. They want someone who is a valid opponent of the Democratic Party. Otherwise, why would they even go out to vote? That's why you saw such low Republican turnout this year.
Right, and this is the problem, is the Democrats. I mean, these guys are just nuts these days. It wasn't that long ago you had the Blue Dog Democrats. You got like one in the Minnesota House left. That's it.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any in the Senate. It's
and
just crazy.
They're pushing him around too. He voted for HF1.
No, Pulowski didn't.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about who's the other guy?
Liz Lagarde, you thinking?
Liz Lagarde. Yeah. They're pushing him around.
Oh, of course. Yeah. They got to be unified. They're a lot more unified and a lot more authoritarian than the Republicans, right? No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is a nutcase. And this is why we're tough on Republicans. Let's not be mistaken who the enemy is here. It's this crazy radical ideology that's just basically infiltrated the modern Democrat Party. And it's not just this stuff. Although I think there's a good argument to be made that this is very similar to the socialistic things that they're doing, creating different identities and providing rights to these certain classes of people that they have, right? That's the old trick of the socialists. But really, the modern Democrat Party is both nutty when it comes to the social issues. We've talked about this abortion in all cases. Essentially, they want anyone that wants abortion, it doesn't matter when it's going to be. If it's a full-term baby, it needs to be aborted. There's no choice there. If you want it, get rid of it. And then they can't. And then, of course, on the abortion issue, it's birthing parents now. It's crazy. It's not women's rights. It's birthing parents because men can have babies and men can menstruate, as they say. And so there's so many there, but they're also socialist. There's no difference anymore between the Socialist Party and the Democrat Party. They believe the same thing economically.
Yep, and the Democrats are all afraid to even stand up to all of this, so that's why they all just go along with it, because if you stand up to it at all, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're a sexist, you're a transphobic, you're everything in the book. And that's why these people are so afraid, but, we got to be able to call it out. And now that there's this database that's going to be, tracking people and everything they say, it's disgusting. It's Orwellian, and this is communist China coming to America.
Well, and this is what they do in Canada. Canada is China
Exactly.
light in a lot of ways, and we're about to become Canada light if we let stuff like this pass.
I know. And I will be damned if we ever become Canada. Let's go, America.
Hell no.
Someone pointed out that this plane's got a Canadian thing on it, but it's not a it's not a Canadian.
We will never
plane.
become Canada. By the way, look at this.
It's not a Canadian. That's my neighbor. He's a pilot too. It's not a Canadian plane. It's just there's a history behind it.
It's in support of the truckers.
Yeah.
I never noticed that until you pointed it out.
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah,
many people in the
my
audience
neighbor,
didn't either.
he's a pilot. He was a 30-year Air Force pilot.
Oh, cool.
American Air Force. Chair Force. And he's like, what do you got a Canadian plane in there for? So there's a story behind it. Oh, all maple leaves, I guess, are Canadian now, right?
They do
All
make
right.
good syrup. I'll give them that.
They do have good maple syrup. Listen, not all Canada's bad.
Yep.
The people of Canada, they're lovely people. They're wonderful people, right? As Donald Trump would say. I love Canadian people.
Yep.
Everyone but Justin Trudeau is a good person. out
Justin
there.
Trudeau's a terrible person. And there's a lot of other people. It's not just Trudeau, but a lot of other people.
Yeah, but the Canadians, they're too nice. That's why they get run over by, by a totalitarian government. They're all too nice up there.
Yeah, but it's, Canada's way different. Toronto versus, Alberta. There's a pretty big difference between those two. So, all right, let's hear Commissioner Lucero's response, because obviously the bill sponsor couldn't be held down to actually respond to what Walter was saying. So listen, it's the second one. And by the way, that is Samantha Vang, short-tempered Samantha Vang. I think that was on our podcast where Mort let us know about her temper, and you could just see it. She's very short-tempered. So she punts to the commissioner, Commissioner Lucero, not to be confused with Senator Lucero, even though it's the same suit coat. This is Commissioner Lucero of Department of Human Rights in Minnesota.
Commissioner Lucero. Chair, thank you, Representative.
Hudson.
Your name tag's turned there. There, thank you, Hudson. Thank you very much. Okay, so just a few things that might be helpful. So just to frame this out, this Section 1 is not about crimes. So the Minnesota Department of Human Rights right now, every single day for 55 years, has been working on issues around discrimination and bias that occur in the workplace, in schools, in housing, that are not necessarily crimes. And most of the times are not crimes. So we already are investigating incidents around discrimination. We use objective standards. We use a prima facie analysis.
Let's just stop right there
it's
real
a
quick.
whole neutral.
Yeah, what's the objective
I'm-
standard?
And I'm looking, if you go back to the Action for Liberty article, you could pull up HF 81. 181, sorry. And then go to the top left where it says the bill text is introduced.
I didn't realize I had so many co-sponsors. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, go back to that real quick. Great point. Let's look at all these nut cases that co-sponsor
Fresh
this.
out of bad points, Jim.
And it's always the same, right? You'll remember some of these names. What's so funny?
You said great point, and I said I was fresh out of bad points. For the audience,
I
he
totally
always gets
miss that
me
one?
on that. Yeah.
I was like, why is Dawson laughing all of a sudden? Okay, fair enough. Fair play. Fair play.
Fresh out of bad plays.
There you go. Oh, damn it. William 2, Jake 0. I'll get you back later. No doubt about it. Brad Tabke.
Yeah.
Like Tax and Brad
surprise
Tabke, has that guy ever seen a radical bill that he doesn't love and support? That clown, it's just amazing. But look who else is on that. Your legislator there, Dawson, Sidney Jordan.
Yep.
And our favorite, Cheryl Yoakum, who follows Action for Liberty. Actually, scroll down on Action for
Yeah,
Liberty's
my
page. Let's
representative
see.
Becker Finn, she's on there too.
Yeah, she's on all that crap.
Yeah, she's on everything.
Yeah, I mean, we should have a name for this group of left-wingers that always are on the same bills. Is Yoakum, for some reason our page always shows that Cheryl Yoakum likes it. Where's our page, Action for Liberty article? Did we lose it? You're not even mic'd up, buddy. There, scroll right there. Cheryl Yoakum, there you go. Just joined.
I wonder if the thing's broken or something.
I don't know. Why did it break on her? That's so funny.
If that's truly her, which I don't know how many Cheryl Yoakums are there in Minnesota. It can't be
probably
many.
two.
Could be.
Okay, so anyhow, she's referring to Section 1, which she said doesn't even deal with crimes, right? And this is Section 1. And so basically, when you're looking at a bill in Minnesota, if it's something new, then it's underlined. If it's crossed out, it's taken out. And if it's neither one, it's just current law, right? And this is the formulation of policies under the Department of Human Rights, as if that's going to be doing any good work in Minnesota. My God, you can only imagine what that's all about. So yeah, she's right there admitting that this isn't even just about crimes, right? But they're still playing that slippery slope. So let's continue on with Commissioner Lucero's comments to Walter Hudson.
Investigation piece around this. So that's what's covered under the Human Rights Act. And what we're looking for here is data around what is outside the purview of the Human Rights Act, but where there's, I took notes on this, where there is speech and associated
all got their
related
notes.
action that is inappropriately used around bias motivated incidents. And I mean, you mentioned normal speech, and I appreciate that. And so you do need to have objective standards to understand what is normal speech. And I think that there's real clarity around, like, for instance, what's normal speech and what's anti-Semitic speech. And so and that would be what is tracked, so we have a better understanding of, and then what to do with it. So Section 1 is about what's going on here, and then maybe it's additional educational outreach. We're getting a lot of calls from this one school district. Is this something that we can meet with the principal about? It's not necessarily a crime situation here. Section 1 is not about crimes.
I mean, like, first of all, the anti-Semitic thing. Yeah, they're just playing the one that everyone is on board
Yeah, they're
with,
grasping
other
at
than Kanye,
straws there.
Yeah.
right?
Well, she says this, it's not about crimes, as if that makes it any better. That makes it all the worse.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
it
it
makes
makes
it
it
far
makes
worse.
it much worse, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing, is this is the modern Democrat Party. It's not just Democrats, it's also the rhinos.
And who does she think she is to define normal speech and how that's different from hate speech? She kept using that term, normal speech. I've never heard of that before. And she is not the one to define it. Nobody is.
You know, it was in the 90s, the ACLU defended the KKK.
Wow.
Which they have a right to their awful, awful speech. I'm a big advocate for free speech because I believe in competing ideas, and the best ideas will win, right?
Yep.
That's why our show keeps growing in support, right? So we're already beating Al Franken's Air America. No, I'm just kidding. Is he even on that anymore? I doubt
I
it.
have no idea what you're referring to. Is that a
Oh,
show
God,
he's
yeah,
doing?
you guys are young. Yeah. Before he was a senator, he had a show on the radio station that's basically the lefty station.
Oh, I thought he came straight from SNL.
No, he was in SNL like early 90s. So,
Oh,
yeah, he was
gotcha.
like, I think it was Air America or something like that. Someone, if you want to correct me in the comments section. Am I missing any comments here, by the way, Bridget? Nothing?
Yeah, I just saw Al Franken and Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. He was replacing one of them on one of their shows. So he's still being active, and he's still working with the establishment to get in those positions.
I bet he's going to make a comeback one of these days.
Maybe.
He teased that he wants to make a comeback to politics.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Yeah, they just keep getting better and better. All right, let's scroll down here. One other video I want to show. I can't remember which one. I think it was like 4. Walter pressing these guys a little bit more. Scroll down there, Dawson, for me. That was 4? Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yep. Click on that one.
Everywhere. So importantly, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights and its act does not do its work everywhere. It does not apply everywhere. So as you've heard some examples, but let me give you a good real life example of where the act does not apply. And as you've heard, this happened a lot during the height of COVID. So if a person is standing on the street corner, ready to cross to the other side, maybe going to the grocery store, we heard these stories a lot, and somebody else drives by and says something derogatory about their perceived race or ethnicity and how it's related to COVID, that's a situation where somebody then immediately starts feeling very fearful, especially when it happens over and over again. They're trying to pick up their kids from school, they're trying to get to the grocery store. And it led to just these little incidents of just really kind of starting to terrorize somebody in their own community. But in this situation, the Minnesota Human Rights Act does not apply. Is this a crime, and is it a hate crime? I am not the person to speak on that, but I will note that it gets
Just the Commission,
complicated for a
Department
variety of reasons.
Human Rights.
When it comes to crimes, whether or not something is determined to be hate crime would involve the police arriving, citing or arresting someone, an investigation, and prosecutors charging as such. So in this example, it is highly unlikely that even if it is a crime, and I'm certainly not saying that it is, but if it is a crime, the police are not getting called. If they are getting called, there will not be an investigation, there will not be a citation, arrest, or charge. So it will never be documented, tracked. No one will ever know about it except that person who experienced it and their community members who feel the residual effects of that.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's just, have you ever read the Gulag Archipelago?
Yeah.
Interesting read.
Alexander
It's the old
Solzhenitsyn.
trick. Yeah, it's the old trick is reporting systems, right? And of course, this is the culture right now. We're all, and of course, obviously, no one is. Well, why do we even have to say this? But no one is saying that you should, be mean to other individuals and you should be racist and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, we know the slippery slope. We know where they're going. Why do they want to track all this stuff? And it's controlling the population.
Yep, the term that came to mind just now was microaggressions. I think that's what they're describing here is microaggressions. You might have some tiny little thing happen to you. That happens all the time. Anytime I go to the grocery store, I see someone in a mask. I hear people not speaking English. That's a microaggression to me. But what am I going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. We shouldn't be having these systems of reporting people and having all this data on people just because they had, because they got offended. That's unbelievable.
I'm just now fearing that Tim, our handyman's going to report microaggressions that I commit all the time towards him. I'll have a huge file in that database. But I mean, seriously, good people will be in that database, right? That's what's going to happen. And it's really going to, let's just be honest, we all know this. It's going to be about this gender identity and gender expression.
Yep, and we've all said jokes before that didn't land properly, that didn't come out exactly as we intended them.
Not once.
But, that's exactly what's going to come out of this
Tell
thing.
us your story, Jesse.
Oh, I don't have any personal examples.
Jokes do you have?
Yeah,
Let's
not.
hear 'em.
Well, I won't say them right now, but I'll save them for later. And hopefully we can get this bill defeated first.
Yeah, nowadays everything gets, you're always worried about something going on social media or saying the wrong thing on social media. And that's a reporting incident as well.
Yeah.
And then how does this interface with potential jobs down the road too, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really the craziness. And I like how Walter's just pointing this stuff out. You're going down the slippery slope here, right? You're going down the slippery slope. Where these guys want to take it is eventually control. And you said a social credit system. That's where the left is going.
Yep.
That's the socialist playbook.
Yeah, the state is their government. That's what they worship. That's what they care about all the time. So
the state is a religion, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did I not
Well,
say
it's all
that?
the same.
The state is our government.
Oh,
Fair
Same
enough.
thing.
True. It
State,
is a true
government, religion,
statement, but-
Yeah.
all the same, right?
Yeah,
God,
no, exactly.
God is, the state.
Yep, exactly. That's how these leftists treated, and so they always want control, and they see common citizens as bad people, as their enemies, instead of seeing the political system as their enemy.
Well, and this isn't even about like making racist or sexist jokes or whatever. Like that's not great. But that aside, Walter brought up a good point that was never addressed. What if you bring up a Bible verse? What if you're simply just reading the Bible and you talk about a verse that talks about marriage, traditional marriage? We should call it just marriage.
Marriage, yeah.
And the role of a man and a woman in a relationship, the rights of the unborn, whatnot. Will you get reported for hate speech? Is that a microaggression against people who don't want to hear you talk about that?
Yeah.
Like you're running into First Amendment issues here, and which is going to end up superseding in the end. If they get their way, probably the reporting system and the social credit system.
Well, I think what we should do, maybe live on the show on Thursday, is we should try out whatever reporting system they have right now In fact, actually, let's do this live right now. Let's look. Go to Minnesota Department of Human Rights, because I'm sure they got and from that bill, what they're trying to do. Let me pull this up here. The state database. So they're appropriating an unknown amount of money in the year 2024 and 2025. You gotta love that when the bill is ahead of actually the fiscal note, so we don't even know how much this thing's gonna cost. And it's gonna give it to the general fund of the Commission on Human Rights for grants to nonprofits to collect and report to the Commission on Human Rights data on crimes where there's a reasonable belief that the crimes were committed in whole or in part because of the victim or another's. And then it's those classes: the race, color, why can't I say that word? Ethnicity, and really what they're after: gender identity and gender expression, right? Mm-hmm. Now, let's see here. Is there anything on the Minnesota Department of Human Rights? Of course, this is the first time I've ever been on this site.
I honestly did not know it was a thing until we went over
You didn't know
the
this?
story.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is I've tracked enough of crap at the Capitol. I knew this existed. Go to the top. I'm assuming there's some kind of reporting system.
Yeah, it just said report discrimination at the bottom.
Oh,
there.
go down to that. All right, let's
Go down a
do
little
this
bit more.
here.
Keep going. Report discrimination
Okay,
right there
report
on the left.
discrimination. All right, can you blow that up a little bit for us? We want to hear from the Minnesotans who experience or witness discrimination or bias. I've felt discrimination and bias, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of my
Gender
identity. Well, I mean, I'm a male, right? And we talked about that. If you need reference, go to last Thursday's show. We show you the anatomy of men and women, which if you're curious,
You were really into that segment, Jake.
well, I mean, we got a state representative that said non-females can menstruate. It's very important we lay this out. The science, that is, William.
Science, yes.
Please complete the form. Oh, go back up. Please complete the form below to report the incident. Okay. All right. What happened? Select one. This is our incident. So really what they're doing, so they've already got the reporting system. They're appropriating our tax money. We know it's going to be in the millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we couldn't possibly just do what we did. This took us 20 seconds to get here, right? 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
They got to take millions of dollars to give to nonprofits to do this for us. Just so you guys understand government right here.
Yep.
Go to Action for Liberty's article. All right? Scroll all the way to the bottom of our article. Oh, no, go up a little bit. Right up there. By the way, that's the episode where you can learn the anatomy of males and females and the chromosomes, the difference. See, this is the language verbatim. We cut this out of the article. In fiscal year 2024 and 2025, no amount known. Let's just imagine, will you?
Mm-hmm.
Millions of dollars, right?
I believe it.
I mean, why thousands when we could do millions?
Mm-hmm.
And it's appropriate from the general fund to the Commission on Human Rights for grants to nonprofit organizations to collect and report to the Commission on Human Rights data. So this is literally, it took us, you watch this live on air. We've never been to this website before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Honesty?
Never been on there.
Bridget, you're the most honest person here. Never been? All right, they're good. Truth hurts. That's why our show's called Truth Hurts. Sometimes the truth hurts. Took us 30 seconds relaying to Dawson. If I didn't even have to relay through Dawson, we've been there even quicker. So go back to the Department of Human Rights. They're going to pay millions of dollars, you could expect, of your money to nonprofits to do what we just did in 30 seconds.
You know what? Let's start a nonprofit and apply for one of these grants.
We'll never
and just
get it.
direct people to this webpage.
Well, okay. Well, let's go through our incident report, and that will then probably put us to the front of the line on our new nonprofit. Great idea, William. I know you don't have bad ideas. That one was a great one. Select what happened. Let's see the drop-down menu here.
Yeah, let's report one of Jesse's bad jokes here.
No.
saw
I
some
know what we're doing.
discrimination.
No, we're doing a better one. All right. Can you drop down that menu? It's not working? It says select one.
Oh, we can't see
Are we
it.
not able to see it? Why aren't we able to see it?
Okay.
Try selecting something.
Well, can you read us what the I believe I was
Yeah.
discriminating.
Okay. So it says I believe I was discriminated against, and I want to
This is a-
report bias or discrimination that I have seen.
Okay, say that again. I was laughing too hard when it said I was discriminated against, which is the whole point of the thing. Okay, here you go.
I believe I was discriminated against,
Okay.
And I want to report bias or discrimination that I have seen.
All right, we want the first one. I mean, this is like literally spooky socialist, like
Yeah.
spine and everything. Okay, here we go. I believe I was discriminated against because of my social or sexual orientation at school. I hope there's an other category. Public assistance. There's an other. Okay, perfect. Let's do other. Good. Nope, that's the one we're doing. All right. And date of incident known. Okay, when was our Facebook page taken down by the President of the United States?
It
was
was
like-
like October of 2021.
October of 2020.
I don't remember the day specifically.
That's 2022. Let's just do 2021.
I think it was probably like later in the month, so like the 20-something.
We could probably find this here real quick.
No, I remember the day it was taken down.
You do. Tell us about that day.
Well,
How were you feeling?
I was a little upset.
'Cause you were
Maybe just a
discriminated
little
against.
upset. I wasn't the guy managing the page, so that was a big ruh-roh. It was
Yeah.
because of, they said it was because of like a stupid Bill Murray meme. You remember this, right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't.
That
for
was their
It was because
excuse.
our thing on vaccines. Incident description. What happened? What did you see? My views, my views that the COVID vaccines are ineffective and potentially cause harm. Led to being removed from Facebook, Inc. And then apostrophe S, web platform.
That's a clear case of discrimination if I've ever
And
seen
then
one.
based on recent reporting, the policy at Facebook, Inc. was a result of President Joe Biden's discrimination policy against me. There we go. Is that
What
fair, guys?
remedy or solution are you seeking?
Okay, what
Ooh.
remedy or solution are you seeking?
$1 million.
Public apology from President Biden.
Yeah.
Oh, Walz could secure that easily.
Yes, or
You could
Governor
hook us
Walz on his behalf.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mhm.
Oh,
You're a reasonable guy. You know,
I'm a
it doesn't,
reasonable
it doesn't
guy.
have to be Joe. You know, if Tim has to do it, that's fine.
yeah. And look, we don't expect anything big. Just like him to come down to the studio, be on the show, and then issue his apology here.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. If you have a photo, short, video, document, or other to share, well, I got an article.
Oh yeah, make him read an
Public
actual
apology
Liberty
from Joe
article.
Biden or Governor Tim Walz on his behalf. And $1 million.
It's restitution. It's reparations. That's what it is.
Oh, Dawson's actually putting it on there.
Scroll down.
We have a couple of comments.
Go ahead. What are the comments?
Tom Newfield's watching. He said this is good, so I think he's very entertained.
Good.
We'll have to make sure we.
I'm glad we entertained you, Tom.
And then Mort from earlier said, "Good thing nonprofits never rip off the taxpayers."
Yeah, I
Right.
know, right?
Hashtag-
Never
Right.
happened
Yeah.
before.
It's never
Well,
happened.
once again, I mean, we're going through this thing to just show you that they're going to rip off taxpayers because in 30 seconds, we found how to report the discrimination. Now, of course, our discrimination is going to fall on deaf ears at the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, right?
Yep.
You know, we've literally had discrimination against us because of our beliefs. And it's not just the vaccines, it's about a bunch of things. That's legit discrimination.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Deplatformed us. It leads to a lot of other things. We could do a whole long show on that. But they don't care about that. It's not about that. We know what it's about. It's about gender identity, gender expression, maybe sexual orientation. I think Walter's living in 2016. I think the bake the cake example is terrible. That's not what it's going to be. It's going to be you misgendered somebody. Let's go back to this reporting system. Location of incident. What does it say? Like, how much longer is this, by the way?
It's just contact information after this.
Okay, then we're getting close.
So the location in my workplace, in my home, in a public place,
In a public place.
sidewalk,
In a public
street,
place, yeah,
park.
public place works.
Public place, okay.
Name a person or business who discriminated against you or someone else. President Joe Biden. Twitter files, if you haven't looked at them, the Twitter files for sure have shown that President Joe Biden literally is infringed on our First Amendment rights, free speech. Where did this occur?
Roseville, Minnesota.
Yeah, we'll just say Roseville, Minnesota. Contact information, Jake Duesenberg. What if I'm a little worried about saying who I am, though? I mean, maybe I'm worried about that.
I think you should be allowed to do this anonymously.
Yeah, just put anonymous.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
not
I'm
a
little
required
worried
option.
Yeah, I'm a little worried right now about outing myself. Email address, well,
It's not required.
yes, but the phone number is required. Well, now what number are we going to use?
911.
I'm pretty sure they're going to what's the Department of Human Rights? Well, should we have them call the White House?
Yeah.
Well, they got a 1-star rating on Google.
Yikes.
See, I
Wow.
almost kind of want to just give them my info, just so we can
if they
see
reach out. I want to see if they
to
reach
see
out.
what the follow-up. So
Yeah.
let's just put our info in there.
I'm going to fade away from that so we don't have to. Well,
No, I don't put my actual cell phone number. I don't want them calling that.
you have a different.
651 760 4208. Too bad we don't have that studio number signed up yet.
I would love for the department
Give them
of
my
Human
email
Rights to
address,
call me.
Jake at actionforliberty.com.
So much for anonymous.
And then, yeah, let's just put we'll just keep anonymous for fun. All right. What does it say here? Let's make sure we're not committing a crime by doing this. The Minnesota Department of Human Rights is collecting this information in order to enforce the Minnesota Human Rights Act. I understand that filling out this form does not mean I filed a charge of discrimination with MDHR. I also understand that the information I provided will be treated as private data and individuals under the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. In the Minnesota Human Rights chapter, blah, blah, will give access to information to MDHR employees who need access to their jobs. MDHR may share the information with the Minnesota Attorney General's office. Well, I can't see a problem there. No issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it with Keith Ellison. Well, good. Share it with Keith Ellison because I would like my Attorney General on our behalf fighting against the unconstitutional infringement on our First Amendment rights. I understand that I am not legally required to provide the information I've submitted in this form, but my failure to do so may make it more difficult to resolve my concern. Accept and submit that thing.
I wonder. So it says that I'm not legally required. I wonder if these stars matter.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because, like, they say it's not legal.
Well, leave out the phone number and let's see if it submits.
It's not going to.
I doubt it.
And then put info at actionforliberty.com.
I didn't know we had an info email.
Of course we have info email. You got to accept that. Submit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wants it from
just put the number back in.
me. What was it? What was the number?
We'll just do info at actionforliberty.com. That way I don't put in my normal email. Oh, 651 760 4208.
All right.
There you go. Submit. There we go. Now,
Wow.
we've reported discrimination against us. Before you little lefties that get all your panties all in a bunch, if you identify as a female, that is, well, maybe you're expressing yourself as a female, and so panties works. So let's go back to anatomy. No, that always makes William squirm when I do that. Before you get all pissy about this, like literally, if you really want to get to the violations of human rights, like that's one of the biggest violations I see right now happening is the violation of people's First Amendment right by President Joe Biden. What are you guys going to do about that? That's a pretty important thing.
Yep.
You know?
Well, I'm sure a lot of people watching have seen the same kind of discrimination against themselves or people they know, maybe a bunch of nurses. So I'm going to encourage everyone to go scroll to the top where they can get the link. I'm going to encourage everyone to go and report these discriminations.
Yeah,
here.
if you lost your job due to a vax mandate, submit it.
There you go.
This is the place to do it.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of follow up. We'll let you know on Thursday what they did about this, and I think we'll post the link in our article. So go to actionforlibby.com and we'll have that link in there. Give me a little time. I'm still on air, so I got to do it when I get off. Like all our people are here. We don't have someone on the computer that could do this. So what are you complaining about at home? They're not complaining. I'm just joking. All right. Anyhow, one other thing we want to discuss. Okay. You know, the radical left-wing agenda, full display. It's pretty much everything we're going to be talking about, I imagine, in the next year or two. You know? I mean, maybe there's some gems in the Republican U.S. House, maybe, because that conservative faction actually got concessions from McCarthy. I mean, the way I look at this is left, they're just outrageous. And, you know, their agenda is a full display. But the rhinos usually allow it to happen. And that's why it's real important for conservatives to fight back. And that goes from abortion in all cases to, you know, discrimination reporting system to what I think is probably the most basic and most important thing. You know, if there's one right that's maybe more important to the future of our country, it's the right to keep and bear arms. Because you don't have any of these other rights. You know, I would probably say personally the right to practice religion is very important, but you don't have that if we are in an armed society. And we're an armed society, and that's not good according to Tim Walz. So Jesse, what did you find out about Tim Walz trying to come after our guns?
Yeah, absolutely. So he's had laid out a few of these proposals that he's pushing, including red flag laws, which are the laws that allow the confiscation of guns, of firearms, without any due process, simply by a report. You know, it could be false information. We see that people are sabotaging each other in other states. There's all kinds of cases where false information was submitted so that someone has a red flag against them. All of a sudden, they get their guns taken. They didn't do anything wrong. Tim Walz also wants to raise the age of buying certain firearms from 18 to 21. He wants universal background checks for all gun sales, even if you're just selling to a family member or a friend. Every little transaction they want to track. They want to have a database for this. They want to track our every move.
Yeah, we started out the day, we'd heard some things about it. None of the major media outlets were reporting about this. So we saw some, I think, maybe greater Minnesota outlets talking about it. We're like, where the hell did he say this stuff? What, it came down to a Facebook post?
Right, Facebook and Twitter. He just has a couple of posts and tweets up there. So if you want to pull up either one of those, Dawson, the Facebook or the Twitter.
What are we looking at there? Oh, that's zoomed in big time. Up. Oh, is that a mobile link?
Oh, maybe that's
get
why.
rid of the
Try
M.
the Twitter.
There's
Yeah,
an
just
M
go
dot-
to the Twitter as well. That works just as well.
Yeah, that was not readable. There we go.
Okay, so what I found very, very interesting on this,
This is a different tweet.
it may be a different one, but what he's saying here is for the Lunar New Year. That's how he might like to call it. I call it the China New Year. And, of course, China Walz is big time celebrating China. He's following their lead on every regard. For some reason, something that happened in California is now our responsibility. We have to suffer under bad laws because of a shooting in California. You know, Tim Walz was looking for any excuse possible to push this gun control. This is his little excuse, and
I'm going to push back a little bit here because this tweet in particular isn't saying anything about gun control. He's going to use this tragedy to push gun control, which is absurd.
Right, this was 2 days
There's nothing
ago.
wrong with this tweet in particular, though. I think it's good to mourn the loss of life.
Yeah,
when
well,
it
I think
happens.
Jesse was just doing the setup here, too.
Right, and
But
right, exactly.
Fair point on the China New Year, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, who talks like this?
No, exactly.
Together celebrate the Lunar New Year.
Yeah, I mean, who is celebrating
You
the
get punched
China
in
New Year?
you
Not
get
me.
punched in the face
Not
if
me.
you said something like that in the street. And of course, it wouldn't be discrimination because you hit all the non-boxes that they care about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Unless he expresses his gender a different way that day.
Yep. But
Well,
yeah,
once again, maybe someone perceived him as expressing himself as a female. And that's all it takes to be reported.
Yep. Exactly. So if you just go and click on his profile,
By the
can
way,
see
we
some
will
of the other
accept
tweets.
if the Minnesota Department of Health, so used to saying that, Minnesota Department of Human Rights is watching this, we will accept Governor Walz's tweet as a public apology. So if he wants to tweet out his public apology on behalf
That's
of
true.
Joe Biden for infringing on and discriminating against us, on our First Amendment rights. Sorry, our rights protected by the First Amendment. Very important difference, right?
Yep. Yeah, and also these red flag laws also. So it's not just a violation of the Second Amendment. It's also a violation of the Fourth Amendment. We have the right to privacy. We have the right to security within our own papers and belongings. And, so if we don't have that privacy anymore, it's a complete violation of it as well.
So look at this thing. So he's got a new tweet out here. And, of course, we're just reading this for the first time. Through the largest tax cut in state history at $8 billion, our one Minnesota budget. So I can't wait to tackle this thing because this is brand spanking new. And what an asshole for keep saying one Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like this is literally the governor that said there are essential and non-essential jobs in COVID. Like that's two Minnesotas right there.
Yeah.
We talked about the Rocks and Cows too.
Rocks and
Are
Cows.
they part of one Minnesota?
That's right. This he says it, doesn't believe it. Anyhow, that we invest directly in the people that made our state strong in the first place. For a middle-class family of 4, well, I'm a middle-class family of 5. Our budget could put $10,000 back in their pocket. Let's get this done. I'm just going to go on a limb and guess we're not going to see $10,000
No
in my family
way.
budget, right?
No way.
I don't think that's happening.
Dawson, scroll down a little bit more because he talks about this gun control proposal as part of his one Minnesota budget,
That's
which
right.
is just obscene to me.
Yeah, it's all about his one Minnesota. Okay, there we
we
go.
go.
Click on that. That's the tweet. Yep.
Yeah.
Our one Minnesota budget proposes universal background checks on all firearm sales, raises the minimum age to purchase military-style firearms, and bans high-capacity magazines. By the way, so what does that mean? Military-style
Yeah, exactly.
firearms, like there's bolt-action, rifles in the military arsenal. So of course we know what he means by that. This isn't a partisan issue. This is about protecting Minnesotans. Let's get this done. None of that is about protecting Minnesotans. You know what it is? It's actually to lessen the protection of Minnesotans because guns protect people, right?
Yep.
And the guns protect people not only from bad people, they protect them from tyrannical governments. Hence why we have all these other rights. They don't care about those other rights, obviously.
Yep.
I don't think the Minnesota Department of the Rights is going to get back to us.
Yep.
They
Only
don't give a crap
law-abiding
about that.
citizens would ever follow this. Only law-abiding citizens. So that means the criminals, it doesn't do anything to stop crime because the criminals don't follow the law as is. So adding more gun control only punishes good people.
Yep. Well, and think about all the ancestral Democrats in greater Minnesota that see this kind of thing happening. The people that maybe would have voted for Tim Walz when he was a congressman, when he was a bit more moderate. When they see this, the mask is off. There's no going back. They're on the Republican side because, some of the time anyway, Republicans are fighting for your gun rights, your First Amendment rights, and your rights. Like, geez, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Here's the way I look at it, and I always read every gun bill. Not that I don't advocate for the minority here, because there are people like age. I'm assuming they're going to raise it to the age 21, or maybe 25. What?
They
I
say
think it's
21.
Oh, wait, it says,
Yeah, it's 21.
Well, okay, so I see what they're doing. So I advocate for the people that are below 21, which I am obviously not, right? So I'd still want to advocate it. That's what I did my 21st birthday. I bought a handgun because you can't buy a handgun under 21.
Well, think about your kids, Jake, when they turn 18. You
Well,
want
there
to
you
be
go.
able to buy firearms.
Fair point, right? So first one that affects me, universal background checks. If I want to sell a firearm, let's say I want to sell a old hunting shotgun to Jesse, right? I got to go through an FFL to do that. That's what universal background checks are. It's not going to save anyone's life. The criminals that are going to break the law aren't going to do it. So what have you done but created more headaches for me to just give him a shotgun? Or, and I've seen their bills before, if you borrow my shotgun for over 72 hours, because let's say Jesse didn't bring his guns from Idaho here to Minnesota, probably not the case, but, and you want to go hunt pheasants, and I got to make sure I get that thing back in 72 hours. Otherwise, I'm guessing I'm a felon.
Wow.
Maybe gross misdemeanor if we don't go through an FFL because I just loaned you my firearm for 72 hours. That's how crazy these people are. Then does he not have red flags on here? Why is red flags not on there?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's definitely a part of the proposal. He's definitely pushing the red flag laws.
The red flags ones is interesting. It's like, I don't think that's going to ever apply, but it could, right? It's just one person saying Jake is unfit to have a firearm and I don't get due process. But to me, I feel like that's not going to happen to me. I don't have like a crazy ex-wife that, wants to take my firearms away. That's generally probably the people that are going to be in that predicament.
Yeah, past spouses, that's definitely the people that are reporting this stuff.
Right. Then the last one is ban high-capacity magazines. Now, what is that, Tim Walz? Right? What is high-capacity magazines? Is it 30 rounds?
Right.
You know, you think I'm going to turn in my 30-round magazines? That's literally, they're going to try to make me a felon right on that one. There's no way I'm turning in 30-round magazines.
Yep.
Which I don't want to tell you how many I own, but I was in the military a long time. You know, that's the standard AR-15 or the M4 magazine.
I'm curious, are they doing voluntary or mandatory buybacks with those?
Well, we don't know much more of the proposal at this point.
Okay, so they haven't talked about that.
Right. Yeah, we're just going off of the few things that Tim Walz has said and the way that the media has been reporting it.
And that's, I think, all we've got to go on right now, at least from your initial research.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So-
there was a press conference that Tim Walz did in Roseville with the fire department, but all they did was talk about the $300 million. That's also a part of this thing, too. They're spending $300 million for public safety and criminal justice reform.
Well,
Should've said hi.
we could dive into
Yeah.
the bills that are actually in the legislature. Ron Latz, I'm sure, is carrying them in the Senate. It's just like, without a doubt, that's who it is. We'll dive into more of this. If this stuff gets traction, you know, that's what we'll be fighting big time, right? Along with all this other nutcase stuff that these guys are doing. This is what we got. This is the material we have, and this is what got delivered in the election. This stuff is a reality because of guys like Tony Jurgens, you know, former rep, former Republican, who endorsed Judy Seeberger, the tying vote, the reason that Democrats are in the majority of the complete government now.
Yep. No, I hope he knows what he did. I hope
Yeah.
he realizes that this is all his fault. All because he was bitter that he got obliterated in the Republican primary.
Yeah, little Tony Jurgens. Unbelievable. What comments before we sign off, Bridget? What do we got to cover before we sign off? I appreciate it, everyone. And before she reads the comments, Dawson, right there, follow us on Rumble. Make sure, this is our Twitter handle right here, action_liberty. So if you want to hear free speech, there you go. We'll give you an update on our Department of Human Rights investigation or incident report. And then also make sure you follow us on Rumble right here. In fact, it's the Truth Hurts show, or you can follow Action for Liberty. Actually, follow both channels, right? And you'll get the best media out there in Minnesota by far, bar none, right? No one's even
bar
close. Yeah, no one's
No
even
one
close.
touches us.
Yeah, and wait till William and Jesse launch their own show too. That'll be great.
It's coming.
All right, what do we got, Bridget?
So we just missed one actually on YouTube. Back to the beginning, that bill, I think it was HF 181, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically this guy just said we all know where this is heading. So that's the only other comment though that we haven't read.
That's it? No one's
Yep.
talking today?
Not a lot.
Jeez,
Did
what's
you
with
refresh
guys?
the page on Rumble? Sometimes that reveals new comments.
Well, that was easy. I thought we'd have a couple more than that. All right. Quick show notes. So Thursday we'll be back 1 o'clock with our live show. And then the House File 1, the abortion bill, abortion in all cases bill, is scheduled to be debated on the Senate floor on Friday. And what time is that at? Is it 11?
You know, I'm not sure on that, actually. I don't know if they've said when they're actually going to be debating it or when they're actually back in session. I imagine they start the session at 11, but not sure if that's the first bill they plan on taking up.
Well, I think that'll probably be the only bill that they take up that day. The session
Yeah.
starts at 11. Is that what you said?
I believe so, yeah.
Here, let's not believe. Let's look it up.
Right.
Well, it's not on their calendar. So TBD, I guess, right? But it sounds like it's probably going to be about 11 o'clock on Friday, and we'll be live. I think Eric Mortensen's going to be joining us again for a live broadcast. So stay tuned to that. But we'll be back here, The Truth Hurts, Thursday at 1 o'clock, our normal time. Thank you very much for tuning in today.